few days after Florence Nightingale arrived, remember she arrived on the 3rd of November 1854. Well, a few days after that, lots and lots of people started arriving, more people started arriving at the hospital because of the Battle of Inkerman. So now there are more and more people, and the doctors were probably struggling because they were already struggling with the amount of people they had before, but now there are more and more people. So eventually they said Florence Nightingale and the other nurses could help. I wonder how Florence Nightingale and the other nurses helped though. Can you have a guess? Let's have a look at a picture after Florence Nightingale had made some changes to the hospital. Here we go. Here's a picture. It looks a lot different to the picture before, doesn't it? Well, there's no people on the floor for a start, so that's a good start. Now, can you pause the video and have a look at the picture? What differences can you find from the hospital before Florence Nightingale made the changes to the hospital now after Florence Nightingale made the changes? Pause the video and have a think. Okay, Yeti, were you able to spot some differences? So first of all, I spotted that there are beds. Remember in the first picture, there are only 2 beds for all those people, and most of the other people were on the floor, nearly on top of each other. Well, this hospital has beds for the patients, and there's nobody on the floor. The beds also have blankets, which is a difference to before, because nobody had a blanket. And under one of the beds, can you see at the front, there's what looks like a chamber pot. So maybe that means that each person got their own chamber pot rather than having to share with everyone else. Now, also I can see on the cabinets, can you see there's some bottles? They're probably medical supplies. Remember, they didn't have any medical supplies before, or they didn't have many anyway. So nothing was very clean, and they didn't have any bandages for the wounds. So therefore, maybe those are medical supplies, and Florence Nightingale helped to introduce those to keep the hospital cleaner. And the room certainly looks cleaner than it was before, doesn't it? Now let's see what Florence Nightingale introduced. So she introduced food kitchens. So remember before there was hardly any food, and you really need food to keep yourself healthy to get better, don't you? So Florence Nightingale introduced food kitchens to make sure people had food to get better. And can you see the man in the green jacket handing something to the man in the bed? That's probably food to help him get better. Now we also have Florence Nightingale introduced washed clothes and blankets. So remember before they were in their dirty clothes from the war, and they didn't have any blankets, did they? So Florence Nightingale made sure that their clothes were washed, and that they had clean blankets. She also introduced reading rooms. So that meant that the people didn't have to stay in their bed all day. They could go and do something else. So they could go into another room and read. Florence Nightingale also started to write home to the soldiers' family. So before, the soldiers' family wouldn't have known what was going on. They wouldn't have even known that their family was wounded. Okay, they wouldn't have known that their family member was wounded. But now Florence Nightingale started to write home to the soldiers' families to tell them what was happening, which was very kind of her. And before, remember, they had no bandages and their wounds were not cleaned. So Florence Nightingale introduced wounds being cleaned with clean cloths. Okay, so everything was much cleaner than before, where we had rats running around and people on the floor and too many people in the room. She also introduced clean drinking water and toilets. So remember when I spotted the chamber pot underneath the bed? Maybe that's true, that each of them got their individual chamber pot rather than having to share. Now, Florence Nightingale improved the hygiene of the hospital, okay? Now, hygiene is a noun, and it means how clean a person or an area is kept. So you could have poor hygiene. So the hospital before Florence Nightingale had poor hygiene, it was very dirty. But after, it had improved hygiene, it had better hygiene, because Florence Nightingale introduced all of the different things like clean clothes and clean blankets and clean drinking water. So everything was a lot cleaner. So the hygiene of the hospital improved. And a synonym for hygiene is cleanliness. So how clean a place or a person is. And you can see in that picture, it's a lot cleaner. It has better hygiene than the hospital before Florence Nightingale arrived. Now, Florence Nightingale was known as the lady with the lamp. Can you guess why? Let's look back at the picture. Can you see that she's walking around with a lamp in her hand? Can you see her? She's the nurse with the lamp being held up. Yes, so she was known as the lady with the lamp because she walked around when everybody was asleep at night when it was dark. She'd walk round and check all of the people in the hospital to see if they needed anything. That was very kind of her. So that's how she became to be known as the lady with the lamp. And here's a newspaper article that was written in the Times again about her and how she was the lady with the lamp. And it tells us that when everybody was asleep, she'd go round on her own with a little lamp in her hand. Now, this is your task now. So you will find this worksheet on Year 2 History, 20th of January resource, okay? All of the different worksheets that you'll need today will be on the same document on Year 2 History, 20th of January resource. Okay, now there's worksheet 3A, which comes with the statement cards. Now you need to read each of the statements and decide in the table whether you need to put it in the column that says Scutari Hospital before Florence Nightingale or the column that says after Nightingale, so what the hospital was like after Florence Nightingale made the changes. So for example, one of them says, the floors, windows and surfaces were all clean and tidy. Well, was that before or after? It was after, wasn't it? So you could either cut it out or write it in the column, okay? Now, if you want more of a challenge on the same document, so again, Year 2 History, 20th of January resource, you'll find worksheet 3B. Now, this one's slightly more challenging and it has some of the statements already put into the table. So on the first one, for example, you have some soldiers slept on the floor without blankets because there were not enough beds or supplies. So that was before Florence Nightingale. You then have to write about the bed situation after Florence Nightingale, okay? And then sometimes you're given the statements for after and you have to say what it was like before. Now, some of you also said that you'd like a little art project. And I'm not sure whether this is an art project or if you think it's an art project, but it's something arty that you can do. So I've also attached this to Year 2 History, 20th of January resource, and it is an instruction list of how to make a Florence Nightingale lamp, because Florence Nightingale was called the lady with the lamp, wasn't she? So all you need is some paper, scissors and glue. So if you have all of those items, you can make your Florence Nightingale lamp. So you just need to follow the instructions, and when you're done, why don't you send me a picture of your Florence Nightingale lamp so I can see? So there you go. You can either do worksheet 3A, which will be found on the resource worksheet that I sent you, or you can do worksheet 3B. It's up to you completely. And then if you'd like a little extra task, you can make your Florence Nightingale lamp. Brilliant, Year 2. Well, that's the end of our history lesson today, but I'm looking forward to learning more about Florence Nightingale in our next lesson. Have a lovely rest of your day, Year 2. Bye.